Update from the copy that's in your packet. The network's now been improved by 15 out of the 16 member ESDs. Last one is Jefferson County, and they vote next Wednesday, and I anticipate, so that will be 16 out of 16 of the member ESDs. Of course, we have the 3 non-member ESDs, Grant, Wallowa, and North Central. Grant has said no, and a lot of history going back a long time with that. Wallowa actually had a formal motion to table, which passed indefinitely, which means that they didn't close the door. They just, I think the wording was they want to see some kind of compelling reason to join, and that makes sense. North Central has not taken action. They've discussed it twice and are going to discuss it again in November. So I think for those folks who have had some concerns about representation of the smaller ESDs, basically, if we boil it down, and I understand that, having been next door to one of those when I was at Columbia Gorge, that they have some concerns about joining in a model that conceivably could swallow them up in some way. I guess that's one way to put it. But I think that if I were to talk to their boards, what I would say is this is designed to do exactly the opposite of that, and that is to make sure that every ESD gets a fair spot at the table in terms of program, in terms of resources, and in terms of support. And I think because what we were seeing in working with ODE in particular is ODE, and I'm not trying to be negative about their approach to things, but whenever they had some projects that they were working on or some funds that they needed to disseminate, they had some go-to ESDs, and we could probably pretty well figure out who they were on a consistent basis. And so it became a case where some cases we had haves and have-nots. I also think it was a little bit inefficient in terms of maybe some of those ESDs were not in the best position to do the work that needed to be done, especially if you were asking them to work across ESDs. And so the first trial run of this is actually in the report, where there was a proposal that came out. Well, they brought it to us early as a competitive bidding process, and we said, well, one of the things that we don't really like is having ESDs bidding against each other. We understand that you have to go through some procurement and contracting laws, but to have ESDs as state agencies competing against each other really doesn't make a lot of sense from our standpoint. So we said, is there a way you can do this without going into a competitive bidding process? And we convinced them that for this project that we would work internally through our network model for each of the ESDs that were interested to submit the applications to us. Then as OESD, then we would submit the application to ODE, and then they could say, well, we like your application, or no, we want to do something different. Well, in this case, they accepted that model, and that was the first time we had been able to approach them with, let's work collaboratively on this and do it differently. We'll see if we can, because now that was not a huge amount of money. It was some federal dollars, and amounts to about $50,000, initially $50,000 for each of the contract holders. So it's not a huge sum of money. There are some significant sums of money out there that the legislature appropriated. Primarily the one that's coming, I think, that will be the most interesting is the one dealing with chronic absenteeism. There was a report that the legislature had ordered in 2015 that came out in 2016 about dealing with the chronic absenteeism across the state. And so they funded that to the tune of $7.3 million, I think, and it's in 3 separate categories about how they're going to put it out. But it'll be interesting to see if they will let us do a non-competitive kind of collaborative approach to that, or if they're going, because the dollars are significant, if they're going to have to go back to the way they've done it before. That'll be a real interesting test, and we'll probably have some good information on that in a little while. But you can see, I think, what if you have your package, you can see 3/4 of the way down where the way the model worked is we asked who would like to be leads for that particular proposal, and some of those were the standard. Multnomah has been a lead, Willamette's often a lead, Lane has been a lead, Southern Oregon High Desert, I think the unique one was in the Region F, Columbia Gorge. That normally is one, if you think about how that normally plays out, that probably would have gone to Intermountain as the largest ESD in that region out of Pendleton. But Columbia Gorge, with a new superintendent there, wanted to be a lead, and they actually partnered with North Central, which is an interesting dynamic. And then we created a region, and so the model worked. And as I said, the state accepted our model, and so then OESD doesn't have a formal contracting role. We're a facilitator in this case, but then each of the ESDs, the leads, sign the contract and then work with their partners. And so we anticipate, or we're very hopeful that this will work in multiple cases across. And it's a very conversational approach. Who wants to be a lead? Who do you want to partner with? And Jack was involved with that conversation and normal alliance, I think, for you folks to work with High Desert, which is often, and I think they've been a good partner for you. I think that's one of the other things, though, is if we're talking about the partners and we come to realize that an arrangement isn't a good partnership, well then maybe perhaps we can have some influence over that, whereas in the past ODE didn't always pay attention to that, let's put it that way. So the network, I think, is going well. As I said, we're just about in approval, and we have some things coming up. Ballot measure 98, the career technical education college readiness measure that was passed last November, is an interesting one that's going to have some work done on it. Multiple interesting things. We're looking at how that might fit into a network ultimately as an approach, but one of the things with it is the dollars went directly to the schools, and so they have their dollars, and of course the smaller districts, that's a fairly relatively small amount of dollars, and some consortia approaches with that. And then larger districts have their own amounts, and I can't remember what the dollar amount is. But we're looking at what it might be a ESD approach to that. The challenge is going to be, as I said, the funding went directly to the schools, so then they're going to need to create consortia, whether that's through the local service plan or whether that's going to be them saying, giving some of their dollars to an effort to do that. A lot of organization called Stand for Children that was behind that ballot measure and is continuing to promote that strongly, really wants ESDs to take an active role, because I think now they realize that if you want to get this to work in a Paisley or a North Lake or the smaller districts, you have to look at it different. That we're not talking Salem or we're Portland or any of those kinds of where many of those programs are already in place. And I think you folks have already been experiencing career technical education for a long time and realize that that's how it has to work in the more geographically diverse areas. So several things coming down, and we'll see how that goes. Just a couple other things quickly. ESD superintendents have met last year and this year in a retreat format. That's next Monday, Tuesday, and we meet at Eagle Crest simply because it's a fairly central location. We're starting on Monday with a session for new ESD superintendents, so Jack will be attending that. We have 5 new ESD superintendents among our 16 members this year. We have a couple that have been superintendents before, as Jack has been, and then we have a couple that have been assistants in other ESDs, and then we have one that's moving from an elementary principal to an ESD superintendent. So it's a nice group, and then we've invited, we have 3 folks then that are just in their second year, so we're basically 50% new in 2 years on the superintendent rank. So a lot of professional development coming out of that. The agenda's been crafted pretty tightly to talk about not only what the needs might be for the superintendents, but then what we want to do around network activities and taking a look even a little bit at the 2018 legislative session, which is coming up. So the other thing to bring to your attention, if any of you are going to the Oregon School Boards Association meeting in Portland, reminder that there is the ESD Summit the day before, November 9th, at the Marriott, and registration information should be coming out next week. We're Still working on the agenda for that. We've invited some legislators and we had a change today, so we're still crafting that. But the focus of that is very much going to be on a statewide perspective relative to education. We have Salon Noor, Deputy Superintendent of Public Instruction from ODE, coming and bring some of his folks. We have Lindsay Capps and some of his staff from the Chief Education Office coming to talk to us. Stanford Children's going to come and talk to us a little bit about ballot measure 98 and how they see that working. And as I said, we're trying to line up a couple legislators for a legislative panel looking at what might be coming next. And so with that, I will be quiet. I've taken way too much of your agenda time already. It's good to see you. Thank you.
Thank you for the updates. Come on. Superintendent report.
You don't have to stick around if you don't want to.
No, I'll stay for a while. I always learn things.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, really.
So, a number of different things. I'll just quickly go through my report here, but you've probably been seeing on the news the DACA, D-A-C-A. It's the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals. President Trump removed that, and so there's a big turmoil about what's going to happen with those folks and what are the rights and all these kinds of things. We got from the senior council that there is no change when it comes to school districts. A child walks through your door, you accept them, you enroll them, and you educate them. And so all of the political turmoil and all the things that are going on does not affect how we treat kids or how we deal with kids. And so I just wanted you guys to be aware of that, that the school district should not be taking any action other than enrolling the child and putting them in the classroom and educating them. So, and we had some concerns about the T1 line that was going over to Adel and to Plush, and there was some, it's taking longer than people would like it to, and so just to let you guys know that everything is in place. Everybody's is doing what they're supposed to be doing. Right now, there's nothing we can do as an ESD. It's in CenturyTel's hands, and until they, whatever magic that they wand that they wave over it or what they do, there's nothing else we can do about it. So at this point, so that's there. The CTE revitalization grant, I spoke with all of the superintendents, and each one of the districts decided that they wanted to go out for that revitalization grant themselves, rather than doing a consortium within the county. The reasoning being is, as an individual district, they can get $350,000. As a consortium, we can only get $450,000. So as a consortium, we leave a lot of money on the table. And so they all three looked at that and said, we'd much rather have $350,000 than to split $450 three ways. So I respected that, and we had a real good conversation, and they're working on it. In fact, we just spoke with, Leanne and I spoke with Fred Smith yesterday about his ideas. Part of his project, he wants to include our mentor program as a partnership, and because some of the things he wants to be able to do is to get, he wants to upgrade his shop area, the welding and those kinds of things, and by doing that, he wants to reach out to the professionals in our community and hopefully get them to become mentors to then work with the kids in the shop.
Nice.
So it's kind of a circular thing there. And we said that's great. I really liked his ideas and stuff, so Leanne and I both kind of gave him the 2 thumbs up on that, and so hopefully he'll get that and get $350,000 to upgrade his shop and get some new tools and all those kinds of things. So update on our music person. Carl Schultz has agreed to come to Lake County. He is going to be an AmeriCorps member, and so he will be coming here. We've got it figured out right now that Monday he's going to be going to Union. Tuesday he'll be going up to Paisley. Wednesday he'll be going to Adel and Plush. Thursday, he'll be going to Union, and then Friday, he'll be in Lakeview in some fashion. We're not sure if he's gonna be helping out with some of the high school band classes, or what exactly he's going to do. I tried to talk to the music teacher a little bit about maybe him creating some kind of a jazz band or something, unique that they don't necessarily have right now, something that's out of her realm. He has a lot of experience with composing, and so that would be something maybe he could be doing with a group of kids, is writing music and putting music to notes, or the lyrics to notes, and or something of that nature. So it's really up in the air. I spoke with him yesterday, and he's open. He's a little bit apprehensive because it is really up in the air. I said, you're going to build this program. I'm not giving you a lot of directive on this. You're going to go in, you're going to talk to the teachers, you're going to talk to what the program looks like, and then I want you to, what expertise do you have, and how do you think you can build upon what they already have and make it better?
Is he here all school year, or?
He's here all school year, yeah.
Right.
So he'll be full-time all school year, so, and
He's not headed to North Lake.
he's not gonna be headed to North Lake this year, no. And I tried to get another person for North Lake, and they are tapped out. I depleted what they had. But she said if anything happens with any of the music folks, if for some reason some program has to shut down for some reason, we are first on the list for North Lake. And she says we will definitely get North Lake on the list for next year, and we'll get that. So, I know North Lake has not had a music person in 2 years, I think yeah.
Oh, okay.
So, it's,
Do they actually need one maybe more than 8 gallon plush, since we're so small, for that one day?
well, I looked at that, and I think for right now, for the amount of drive time and the amount of time they'd be able to spend there for one day and stuff, it's really not feasible to be able to do it.
Because I know they have plush,
But-
we do have a music program,
Right,
that's
right, yes.
doing all right.
My thought is that, and I talked to the director last week, or was it this week? This week. Talked to the director this week, and I told him my idea was that once Carl gets in, everything's going and everything's going well, and we know what's happening and stuff, that we look towards March, April area, that he could maybe take a 2-week period, and where he would then just go up to North Lake and stay in North Lake, at somebody's house or something, and do a 2-week artist in residence kind of a thing with them, so they can get some type of a benefit of it. So, don't know what that's gonna look like yet, but that's an idea that I had, and I know it's very common to have artists in residence and do those things, so hopefully we can make that happen. So that's coming up. The Khajiit access points, the internet access points, those have been fully deployed. North Lake will get theirs tomorrow. Mike drives up to North Lake tomorrow. But everybody else has theirs, and so far, I haven't heard boo. It sounds like they're using them. And I have a program, it's really neat. I have a program that I can go in and I can look at all of the different, all 15 of the units, and I can see what websites they're going to, what websites have been approved for them to go to, and there's also a list of all the websites that were blocked. And so, and each one of the districts, their technology persons also has access to the units that they have.
Right.
So they don't see everybody's, but they see theirs. So it's really nice that if we have somebody that is trying to abuse it, and we notice that there's a big list of, places they're being kicked out of, we can address that kind of thing. So, but it's pretty neat. We can see how much usage there has been, the time of usage, all that kind of stuff. So I'm amazed at kind of, Big Brother's watching, I mean, I guess that's me, but it's pretty neat. But anyway, those are out to the folks, and hopefully, any kids without internet access will now be able to take a laptop or something home and get their homework done and that kind of stuff. So, and those units, we own those units, the little boxes. So I'm hoping, I haven't got the quote on it yet, but next year's bill should be significantly less, because all we'll be paying for is the access, we'll be paying for each unit. So I'm hoping it'll be a change in that. But, dyslexia training, is gonna be coming up. That's gonna have to be a conversation that school districts and stuff are gonna be talking about. I'm hoping that we'll be able to have some kind of a training here for folks. I looked at this and multiple times, you can see on the second page, it says, every building has to have a person that is trained. Anybody in kindergarten through 5th grade, they have to have somebody that's gonna be trained. So we can't have, what I was hoping for was we would have a trained person at the ESD and then be able to farm them out to the different districts. I mean, how often are you gonna do a dyslexia screening? But that's not, that doesn't seem to be an option. It looks like every single school, so even Plush, we have one teacher, we'll have to have her trained so that she can do that screening. So that'll be a training that'll have to be coming up here pretty soon. Another conversation that is quite interesting is right now, if a student graduates with a modified diploma, they still have a right to come back and continue their education until the age of 21. If they start school at 20 and they turn 21 during that school year, they still can finish out that whole school year. ODE they've got new rules about the modified diploma, and that is that if the student earns a modified diploma after this year, that they will no longer be eligible for that to 21 education. So that's kind of different. You know, I don't see this sticking. I think it's going to get overturned or it's going to get changed. I just don't see how the ACLU is not going to cry foul on that or something. So we'll see. I attended Adele's open house on September 18th, so it was good. I met see some of the kids outside of the classroom, you know, so it was kind of fun to joke around with them and that kind of stuff, and see some of the folks there. Let's see, OSBA is changing to a non-profit. I don't know if you got that newsletter from them, so just make you guys aware of that. It sounds to me like it's not going to affect us at all, but it is going to affect charter schools. That their boards will no longer be able to do, it says that they'll no longer be able to join as associate members because of tax rules. Don't know what those rules are, and I think that's a detriment to OSBA to not have those charter schools in there. I think that those folks are equally as important as far as educating the kids of Oregon as any public school is. So I don't know. I think it's supposed to be, it's going to be coming through, and it says board members will be able to vote on a resolution from November 13th through December 15th. So I haven't seen the resolution yet, but once we get that, that'll be a discussion we'll probably want to have and how we feel about supporting that coming up. So I went to a Oregon School Executives, Oregon Association of School Executives meeting today. Basically, it was a superintendent's meeting. And COSA is working on, right now, starting to develop the plan for the upcoming legislative session, for the 2019 legislative session in 2 years. So they are working, just trying to build a framework of what they want to have happen. One of the things that I really like about the mentality that's moving forward right now with the superintendents is that rather than, it seems like in the past, superintendents and school districts have always been at the mercy of whatever comes through the legislature. And people are fed up with it. And so superintendents are saying, wait a minute, they're calling it being respectfully aggressive. And they're saying, look, we're the top educational leaders in this state. We need to be not dictating, but we need to be respectfully aggressive about what our needs are and what the legislature needs to be doing, and not sitting back and just taking whatever comes down the pike and complaining about it. And so that's the mentality that they're taking right now, is more of an aggressive approach, saying, okay, we need to be informing them, this is what you need to be doing as a legislative body, this is what we need as an educational body. So I'm hoping it moves forward, because I think it has a ton of merit. Because I'm tired of, you open up Christmas time, what do you got? Oh, no, yeah. So I think everybody else is fed up with it too, so that's really a kind of a positive direction that they're going, so.
Might stop some of the doing stuff just to be doing stuff.
Yeah.
I agree. If we give them something to do, they'll do that,
Yeah.
Well,
versus
the-
looking for something.
Yeah, the amount of time they spend on frivolous,
Yeah.
that are not getting us anywhere.
Yeah,
Then they'd have to really do their job.
yeah. There was one thing today that they talked about that Craig described it as, it's a solution in search of a problem. They created a House bill that had no problem, but they created a solution, and so they're looking for the problem, It's like, okay, we can't have this, I mean, this is, yeah, so. Anyway, I'm real pleased with the direction that Coast is moving with that,
That's
so.
good.
So, anyway, and that's what I have.
Yeah.
Board policies, our second reading.
Okay. GDA, I don't know if there's any questions or anything about that one. It's an optional one, but I would recommend that we do go ahead and adopt it. It's good to have it spelled out as what our expectations are for our education and that kind of stuff. With our educational assistants, so.
So we don't have this policy, or we do, but the update's optional?
I believe we currently have it, right?
We do, yes,
Yeah,
it's
because
just
it was
an
already
update.
been adopted,
Yeah.
it's just been an update, but it's optional to update it or even have it, so. I'm just gonna
Got it.
continue with it. And then the next three are all three required, so I don't know if there's any question on any of those, but.
Well, they just changed some wording and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, just the yellow sections, just changing wording, we already have them adopted and. It's like it's been, all three of them, it's been 2007 was the last time anything was changed on them, so.
Okay.
So we don't need an action on them now?
No, we're gonna go down later on. Thank you. Wiring RFPs.
Okay, so we put out an RFP for wiring to rewire this building, with the understanding that there is asbestos in the vermiculite in the attic. And we got how many two different companies to come out? And we got one proposal back. It's from Hunter Communications. And after all three of us picked our jaws up off the floor and got done choking over the price, it was $31,866 to rewire this building, is what their proposal was. And we were, none of us were in favor of that. We thought that was, if these folks are dumb enough to pay us, we'll go ahead and do it, but we're gonna charge them for it, kind of a bid, what it was. That's kind of what I felt like.
That's why they're so many pages, so they made it look needy to.
Yeah,
Justify
the 31,000, yeah, so we got talking some more, we talked to Josh some more about, gee whiz, what are we gonna do, Because some of the issues we're having, we've got some of the phone systems that, the phone system is very, very old, and, how are we gonna update that? We've got some connectivity issues. Debbie, I think, was one of the computers that she has issues, connecting with hardwired right now. And so we did two things. We talked to Josh about, okay, what can be some solutions to this? And so as far as the connectivity, that's the part of the presentation that's in your packet. And that is for a wireless network. So we would purchase wireless cards for all of our standalone machines, like Debbie, the one that sits underneath your desk. And then we would upgrade our wireless network within the building, and so that everybody would be on that, so that nothing would be hardwired through the walls. Okay, and that came to $6,200. Okay, $6,300. Which, that's pretty cheap, I felt like. I thought that was a pretty
And
good
this
solution.
does away with the hardwiring issues we're supposed to be working on?
Yes, yes. Okay, well, let me, I'm not, yes, but conditions. I'll come back to the conditions in a second. And so that's an option for us, is to not hardwire our computers into the network, but to use wireless. Now, I use wireless right now on my laptop that we have currently in the building. I've never had a problem. I mean, if the network is down, then,
It's down.
I'm down, everybody's down. But I've never had an issue with the wireless being an issue. I've used wireless probably for the last 10 years and have never had issues with connectivity.
Any
Or-
security
or-
issues with wireless?
Not that I know of, no, not that I know of.
No, because it'll be
So-
password protected.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be the same as like if you log in,
Yeah,
you
okay.
have to log in, all that kind of stuff.
He's from Maydale.
So, huh?
Okay.
So anyway, so that's an option, okay? But then we still have the issue of our phone systems. So, we were talking about the Cat 6 wiring and what that would do and what we would be able to upgrade and that kind of stuff. And so I talked to Josh and I said, can you give us a bid on the wiring in the walls is Cat 5 wiring. Cat 5 wiring is out in millions of buildings out in the world right now. And we're having some issues with it, but it's copper wire. It's not gonna rot, it's not, unless a rat chews through it, it's there. And so, my statement to him was, look, if we've got some issues with the connectivity of the little plug-in thing in the wall, and it's, been used over the years and used, they're wearing out. We probably need to have them fixed. So I said, give me a bid on what it would be to pull a little bit of wire, cut the end off, put a new end on it, and, put a new cover, new little plug-in and stuff like that, and what would all that would be. So he gave us the bid, and that's the one that we were handed to you. And that part of what it was really very, very, very cheap, only $300, as far as the hardware. But where it came a little bit more was he also said that our patch panel, where all of our wires plug into in the server room, is original. And he said, it's never been replaced. He says, we need to replace that too. So there's an additional cost there. So to have all of those wires fixed and put a new patch panel into that system is $3,600. Now, the caveat to that is, we're using old wire and we're trying to fix it all. And he says, we'll do our due diligence, but I can't guarantee this to work.
Right.
Because it obviously, you're using used wire, old wire, and we're gonna do it
Put
all.
a Band-Aid on it.
I can't imagine that it would work. I can't see of any reason that it wouldn't work, and other people that I have talked to that are technology people, there shouldn't be any reason that it shouldn't work. But he says, I can't guarantee it, and if this one doesn't work, and then it may be a bad wire, and it may be it is what it is. So we've got that. Then you've got the issue of the phone system and what that would cost. And my conversation with Josh is, okay, it's 2017, and we're looking at Cat 6 wire and a phone system on Cat 6 wire. What about a 2015 brand or breed or whatever phone system that works on Cat 5 wiring? It would be a new system, it would just be 2-year-old technology. What would that look like? So I'm still in the process of looking at that. I did not get a chance to look at that RFP. Did you look at it any further?
A little bit, yeah.
What was your thought on that? What was it?
The total cost for the hardware, ran around $5,000. The anticipated monthly cost was about $68 a month plus 2 cents. I think that allowed for 2 cents per minute for like 2,000 minutes or something, which currently our phone bills are $200+. So, a new phone system, the hardware would pay for itself eventually. And, you know, as we're looking at if we were to do both of these where we fix the Cat5 and we beef up our wireless, if we took our computers off the Cat5, that would free up lots of Cat5 bandwidth for the phones so that there shouldn't be any problems on it. Back in May and June when I was talking to the guy at Noctel, he said that the phones could work on Cat5. It was just best on Cat6, but he said, you know, if the wiring's a problem, that they would be functional on Cat5.
Yeah, so, that's kind of what we're looking at right now. And so, you know, we have the option of $31,000 to go to Cat6, but that to me is not even an option. Well, I know it's above budget, I know that.
And I
Right.
don't know that our construction fund even has 31,000.
Right.
I think it's closer to 29. I mean, it's close, but
Yeah.
it doesn't like that.
And I think that, you know, by maintaining the Cat5, repairing what, you know, our infrastructure that we currently have that hasn't been done anything to, how long ago was this place wired with Cat5 wiring? 15, 20 years?
It's almost 20 years in 1999.
Okay.
I was gonna say when the plug went up on the wall outside, right?
I think that's, so I do 20 years
Yeah.
on these plug-in things, I think that's pretty darn good. So, so that's my suggestion, is that we go with the wireless, that we go with repairing our Cat5 items that we have, and then we look at using a phone system that is capable of running on Cat5 rather than being forced to go to Cat6.
So the two here is almost 10,000, and you said 5,000 for the
And
phones?
right around, maybe 5 to 6, but
That's above this, right?
yes, it's in addition. And that would be things like our phone handsets, or, you know, that kind of hardware. Yeah.
Now, I know Jackie said about using maybe 2015 technology with the phones. Is that the new phones or older technology?
You know, I'm not sure on that, which models were included in that quote. That quote's from back in May or June.
Yeah, so that still makes us 18 years ahead of where we are.
Yeah, that's kind of
right
like,
up down
you know,
now.
it takes a long time to change the color of these phones to look like that. I mean,
Yeah. And by the way, that 5,000 to 6,000, it includes installation
Right.
and all of that.
Yeah.
It's not
Okay.
just
Right.
materials.
Right.
Yeah.
That should
It's
get you up and
the-
running.
Yeah, yeah, no. They're Apple phones? No. No.
if we can get Apple phones, I'm all over it, but I may get some pushback from these two ladies, I don't know.
Oh, that's fun. Now, our building, do we set aside an amount every year and just build that up for what we need, or, okay, so, because we just did the roof, and that.
And we still have 29 after the roof.
I think so, yeah. I think so.
How many years would it take to build back up to a $30,000 building fund?
Or we're doing
I
10 a year or
think
something.
we
Okay.
put aside $6,000 to $9,000 depending on where our budget falls.
Because we will, yeah, and
Yeah.
purchased the vehicles lately, the last couple of years. So
Okay.
we've had some expenses, but it builds up pretty fast every couple of years.
And the vehicles are in a separate
They're
fund.
separately?
Yeah, so, which is nice,
Yeah.
you know.
But even at 10,000 a year, that's 3 years worth of,
Yeah.
just for phones. If something else would happen.
Oh, that's it, that's what the Hunter quote.
Right, that's what I'm saying. if we
Oh,
were to
okay,
do
I thought you
something.
meant like if we were to do these.
No.
This other one is
Yeah.
a 1-year deal or a year and a half.
Year and a half, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it doesn't empty our account.
Yeah.
Right.
To me, it sounds like worth taking a chance on.
We'll need to approve.
Did you guys have any thoughts or feelings or?
I'll tell you, with the new system in the new Head Start building before I retired, it took months to get it. It's still being worked on, there's still kinks, and the phone system was expensive. Everything hooked up to the computer and wire, it's still a mess. So it doesn't mean that all your problems are gonna go away if you spend $31,000 on the
No.
new system.
That's just the wiring, that didn't account purchases of any phones or any changes
So-
in anything.
Yeah, that's,
I'm not sure we have a choice, really.
not a sound fiscal choice anyway.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No,
That's
we could go crazy with it, but I don't recommend that.
Any further thought on that before we go on? The OSBA Fall Regional Meeting.
Yours is the 24th?
Fourth? That's the one in Paisley?
Oh, yeah.
Right.
We lost our carpool driver.
No, I have mine, I can take,
Still taking.
yeah, 3 plus, I mean, if someone wants to get in third seat,
Yeah.
you can take 4. Yeah, I was gonna say, when I was reading that, I can still carpool from here.
We lost our
It
chef.
beats us
The
all.
24th.
Yeah. What?
Yes.
Said we more lost our chef.
Oh.
Unless you tri-tip and
No.
Traeger.
Yeah.
You know,
You kinda spoiled us there, Jack.
Just throwing
you know?
it your
just-
direction.
you know, I gotta talk to Bob and see if he'll, bill me his Traeger or something. I don't have a Traeger, so, Christmas is coming though. If a Traeger showed up from the board, as a thank you, then, tri-tip could definitely be in the mix. But without that, I'm afraid sheetrock and new light switches are gonna take precedence over a Traeger, so.
We should have highlighted that on the superintendent search.
Yeah, cause
Come
it's
equipped.
not a lot of expense from
Yeah.
the.
Nice.
So is anyone gonna be attending, do you know?
I will.
Yeah, I am, yeah.
So usually it's
Jim's
a,
gone.
I will be
it's
gone.
in,
You'll be gone.
I'll be there.
The spouses are welcome too.
so 3 of us are going and then,
Oh, that's okay.
yeah,
That's good. I like them. I'll be on it for that day.
and then I don't know about Jeanette and Dale, you can.
I'll send out
with
another
them.
email. I'm going to need to know, I'm gone next week, but the following Monday I need to turn in the head count,
Yep.
so.
That's
Be
what he
surprised
said.
if Dale
Yeah,
doesn't
but
come.
there's-
I don't
Yeah,
think he would.
he usually does.
Usually, yeah.
It's
And
in
then his
Paisley.
wife, yeah.
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 What time, do you know what time that is? That's,
I think it's 6 o'clock
6
still,
o'clock.
yeah.
6 o'clock, yeah.
Let Jeanette know I'm driving so she
Okay.
can.
I'll probably
Right.
just meet you here. maybe in
Okay, I was gonna say that or pick you up
Oh,
at
I
the
just-
turn.
just come out
Okay,
and have my car sit out there.
okay.
Before we leave information to discussion,
Mhm.
I gave you one more news release that just came through today. And it is concerning, it's from ODE, about kids taking the SAT. And that Oregon is still above the national average
That was good.
in the SAT. And I know, state of Oregon, we get beat up on, test scores all the time and these kinds of things, but I do take a lot of merit in the SAT scores and where we're comparing with our kids that are, going on and seeing where they're at educationally. One of the things that I was very pleased to see was the increase in minorities taking the test this last year. Pretty significant change, which that's fantastic. I think this gives I would say even a better representation of how we're doing in educating our kids in Oregon.
Yeah.
Because we do have a lot of, minorities taking the test, so it was good. Just kudos to Oregon on that one.
Indeed. Okay, action items. The board policies that we reviewed for second reading. There's 4 of them, 1, 2. Do you want it voted separately or as a packet before?
Us do it
Yeah.
as a packet unless.
Packet, okay, of the
Unless you
four,
wanna kick it.
second readings, do I have a motion to accept them?
I'll make that motion as presented.
I'll second it.
Okay. Motion and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, moved. Approve wiring RFP.
I'll make the motion to approve, how do you want that worded?
I'm
We got
wondering
three
if we should do a not to exceed amount, the board give us approval to
Mhm.
spend like say $18,000 on the project,
Wiring and phones.
wiring and
Wiring
phones.
and phones,
And that
yeah.
way if we run into any additional costs that we're not aware of at this
That'll give
moment.
you
Yeah.
what, about 3,000 grace, you're thinking?
Right.
Yeah,
2 to
because it's
3.
about 15 to 16,000, so yeah, 2 to 3.
I'll
Right.
make that motion
Okay.
to approve all three or
Or to
to not
approve
exceed 18,000.
$1,000 on the phone wiring project. Okay.
Should we add the wireless too?
Yeah,
Right,
that's
that's part of
including
it.
the wireless and the phone system, yeah.
I'll second
Got a motion?
I just was gonna have one comment on that. What I'd like to see next year, it just worries me that we're dropping our building fund so low, so if we could figure out budgeting, maybe not necessarily double what we would put in there, but increase it, fairly significantly, just in case.
Yeah.
In case the building flooded
Yeah,
or something
yeah.
catastrophic that you
Well, I
have
know
to fix
we
right
gotta-
away.
Absolutely.
Heating and roof done, so we're running out of.
We're running out of
This
projects.
building, it is, you
Yeah.
never
Yeah.
know. It's so cold.
But I
The
would just
siding
like
is,
to,
the
Yes.
siding is coming down the pike fast.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'd just like to see a little, build that fund a little faster for a few years.
And we got flooring, the carpet, you'll see as you walk out, you'll notice the carpet is buckling in a number
Mhm.
of places
Just
and
throw
stuff.
it in there.
Yeah, Debbie won't bring any from her house, but
Oh,
anyway,
yeah, accident
Um,
waiting to happen, a
Yeah,
throw. So we have a motion on the table to accept the phone and wiring system not to exceed 18,000. Your second, okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. I make a motion to adjourn, 7:50.
Thank you.
Do you want to?
I'm a little about 5 minutes or 10 minutes behind Dale.